For over 1,000 generations, the Jedi Knights were the guardians of peace and justice in the Old Republic. Before the Dark Knight. Before the Empire.
For my ally is the Force, and a powerful ally it is.
And the Force is what gives the Jedi his power. It's an energy field created by all living things. It surrounds us, penetrates us, binds the galaxy together.
What God am I? The last of the Jedi will you be?
The dark side of the Force is a pathway to many abilities some consider to be unnatural.
I'll never turn to the dark side. You failed, Your Highness. I am a Jedi, like my father before me.
If you strike me down, I shall become more powerful than you can possibly imagine.
Just for once, let me look on you with my own eyes.
Remember, the Force will be with you. Always.
Yo! And welcome to Rogue One, a Star Wars podcast for winners, episode 210. I'm your host, Johnny, and with me from Queens, New York, born and raised, Mr. Michael Pappas.
Yo, what's up, buddy? How are you? Hanging in
I
there.
am well. How are you doing?
Oh, I'm hanging in there. It's just another day in the 5-borough apocalypse of New York City, my friend. It's just like, we're back in the early 90s. The Super NES just came out. We're getting Timothy Zahn novels on the future of Star Wars. And Bill Clinton's making a run for the presidency. It's fantastic. We're just hanging in there. The life is good right now. It's all about the trickery of the mind.
I like Life is Good. I like that. So I was watching during the apocalypse. I've been watching Entourage. Did you ever watch that show?
I would be Turtle. You would probably be Vinny Chase. Hawes would probably be the manager of your career. Yeah. I don't want to insult anybody, but I already can picture a point where I would put everybody else. But yeah, of course.
All right. So not why I brought it up, but funny. So I've been rewatching it, and I think season 2, when they were trying to film the movie Queens Boulevard. Right?
I am Queens Boulevard, Johnny.
Yeah. So I thought of you, and in one of the episodes, he goes, "You're from Queens," and he said, and I quote them, "Born and raised."
That's awesome. It may have been where I got the idea from.
That's my question. I was like, I gotta call him like immediately. Then I realized it was 3:00 in the morning, and that would be awkward.
It came natural to me, but it may have been subliminal because it was my favorite show for a long time once it came out, like in the early 2000s. So
yeah, I think 2004 to 2011 or 2012, 2000, I don't know. Like, let's say 2003, 2004 to 2011, 2012 was like the run of the show. And the best part was like catching the references. Like in the first season, he's like, "Where did you see that? Friendster?" And I was like, "What the fuck's Friendster?" Then I realized Friendster was before Facebook.
Oh my God.
Do you remember Friendster?
Yeah, I was actually buying advertising working for an ad agency at the time. And the only social media we were buying at the time, besides AOL and like newsletters in your AOL email, was MySpace, and then the up and comer, like the one that was like, oh wow, there's a new one, was Friendster. And it was like a weird ass profile page that you would make, and then you'd have your like profile ID that you could add a friend to, and it would email your friend to your ID to accept. And this was like maybe 2 or 3 years before Facebook, but to have that reference in Entourage is like shows how far back that show actually goes, man.
Yeah, and like looking at their phones, like they were all like flip phones, and then like each season, like you saw like the progression of the phones. Like I think I'm in season 4, and they're still not in the iPhone stage. They've still got like sidekicks. Remember sidekicks? First it was like everyone had a flip phone, right? And then it was and then Turtle like had a sidekick that would flip open and he'd type with the keyboard.
Yeah.
But they referenced like MySpace in like season 3. There's been no Twitter or Facebook references yet. I'm in like season 4. So it's just it's really funny like seeing it. It's like not only am I like reliving the show and enjoying it like all over again, but just watching like it's just nostalgia in every sense of the word. It's funny.
I think that we take advantage of like the early internet social connectivity that we went through, like, and to reference Star Wars, like towards the mid to end of the prequel trilogy coming out in theaters, and where we all were. And I think I'm going to speak to the majority of the demographic that listens to us in like, you know, your mid 20s to late 20s, maybe early 30s, maybe. And, you know, you take that decade for granted because we survived Y2K. We survived this shit. Now everything's okay. Everything's going back to normal. And I think a lot of us didn't realize that, well, maybe in another decade from now, we'd wind up in some other circumstances. You know what I mean, John?
Yeah. All right, we got a quick show tonight, but there's something that's been out a couple weeks that we haven't really spoken about. And now that we have our video on, I can show you instead of like going crazy with trying to share pictures. What did you think of the look for the High Republic series, the books, the concept art of the Jedis?
It reminded me of like a lot of these like medieval role-playing games I play where a lot of the knights are in like these like this royal armor and everything's like shining, and the garments on anyone else who's not wearing armor is very royal and regal with like this like tacky red or tacky, I don't want to say from the tapestry of a palace, but it just reminded me of like these are like rich people. These are rich people with the Force. It's a Renaissance that has passed the Renaissance to a sense where they have no worry, they have a ton of funding, and they're kind of all about themselves. It also reminded me of playing the massively multiplayer online role-playing game Knights of the Old Republic, one of the latest expansions where, and not to spoil anybody if they want to play that game, but it reminded me of the latest expansion where that was kind of the case, where the Jedi were in a Renaissance period where they had no adversary and they had no villain, so to speak, and there was a surplus and everyone was regal. I think it looks very medieval is not what I want to say. I want to say it looks very royal, a little too royal. If you thought the Jedi were all about themselves back in the prequel era when the Jedi Order was, you know, not really paying attention to what was going on behind the scenes, like this is like pompous almost. And I've never used that word on this podcast in 210 episodes, but they look a little pompous in the way that they look based on the gear that they got flowing right now, you know?
No, I get it. And so I'll go through it real quick.
Am I way off? I'm just wondering if I'm like way off.
No, not at all. Like I agree with you. I'm just trying to find it on my phone. So the first person I'm going to bring up is Avar Kriss, and I'm going to put a little picture on here for you.
Yeah, I remember her. Yep.
I think it's a dude.
I think it's a girl, but
is it?
It looks like a girl to me.
It looks like Prince Valium.
Okay, well, Prince Valium. Vespa, yeah, my darling.
Vespa.
So here is why I agree with Johnny right now. There is a headdress on this, maybe this Jedi with long blonde hair, but the headdress is like a tiara, but it's the tiara that's on your forehead, not on your head. It's like the one in, if you play any medieval role-playing games, Western or Eastern, it's basically like the tiara that's on your forehead. It's basically like not a bandana. It's a tiara. It's a tiara on your forehead. I can't explain that. Like, what is that?
He looks like a tool. I ain't gonna lie to you. He
Right.
looks stupid.
But would you ever think a Jedi would wear something out of World of Warcraft? Like, it's a World of Warcraft paladin's headdress.
Here is Loden Greatstorm. Big fan of the last name. This
It sounds
looks
like
a little
World of
more
Warcraft.
Star Warsy.
Okay, so it's a Twi'lek male with also a headdress. He's still in robes.
Everyone is basically wearing white and gold robes, kind of like the Jedi Temple Guard people.
Yeah, they're pompous. They're regal. It looks like they've got way more money than they should have. And they look like they're the rich pricks that we don't like. There he is again. He's got gold and white. And he's got a headdress as well. This is a Twi'lek, same guy. And his name sounds like he's right out of World of Warcraft, like someone from Stormwind.
Greatstorm's a good last name. I don't know if you were able to see it on the video. He's got the the gold colored like Ray lightsaber.
Well, it's a yellow saber, they call it. They don't call it gold yet. but
Okay,
maybe,
yellow. Okay.
Yeah.
Next up, we have Keeve Trennis.
Okay, we got a dual green saber in one hand. She's got vest Jedi garments with shoulder pads that are brown. She's got a front skirt Jedi style, and the rest of her is white with armaments on her wrist. Her wristbands are also gold, and her Padawan braid is also braided with gold decorative jewelry, I guess. But she looks regal as well. I think it's green. I can't tell from my screen. Is that yellow on yours? But these people look like they haven't been in battle for years. It's almost like Commodus in Gladiator, where he just looks dope and he's never been in a real war.
No, I get it.
What's his name? The director of Gladius. One of my favorite directors. You guys know who I'm talking about. You can school me tomorrow when you listen to this. Alien, Gladiator, Prometheus.
Ridley Scott.
Yeah, thank you.
Stellan Gios is up. This guy looks like a pompous asshole as well. So far, Mike and I agree that the cast of the High Republic Jedi all look like pompous assholes.
The only way that I see this being really, really good as a storyline is when a guy who looks like this, maybe this fucking character, whatever Johnny said, is the one that wants to betray all the good shit and go resurrect the Sith somewhere. And I've seen that, like, a lot in storytelling, you know.
This guy looks like the classic square-jawed hero dude. Like
that's why it would be good if he's the one that's the plot twist to go resurrect Bane or resurrect any of the older Sith, you know. Oh, because it just looks too regal for me. And the enemy that we've seen is like a steampunk enemy on planets like Tatooine and Jakku. Oh, she's hot.
She's Vern Rowe-ish. Vern Rowe.
Yeah. It's got to be an internal conflict because things have been
green.
so good. She's green. I would still. I'm not. You know.
I'm not what? Is there a word for it? If you,
I don't judge on skin color. I love all skin.
Intergalactic species. Okay.
Intergalactic, planetary, intergalactic. So I won't go off topic or segue. She is in white Jedi garb. She's got those nice gold wristbands that you'd want at level 10 in an RPG. She's got clean skin, nice hair, blue eyes, blue saber. I mean, I'm down if she wants to hang out, you know.
All right, so that's that. Gotta be honest, the pictures kind of got me excited for a little bit, and then I realized it was for books, and I was like, I don't read, nor do I have any interest in reading. So it is what it is. The High Republic, like, I look forward to hearing what people who do read think about it. What about you?
I'm definitely going to read at least the first one or two books, and if I'm intrigued, I'll read more. But from the trailer we saw about the era and all this content that Lucasfilm is putting out, I have a feeling that they're still testing us, and that if we fall in love with this, then Marvel comes to play, and then ILM and Lucasfilm and Disney come to play with the films or Disney Plus series based on how well this does at the forefront of everything. Forefront meaning how well the stories are originally written, where we fall in love with some of these characters. I want to go, like I always do, into my fanboy head, but like they just look way too chill, way too like we got all the cash, all the stash, what's up? The only way in my mind right now, and I'm being very shallow, and it's probably not going to go this way, is if this story, everyone's going to fall in love with these books, like J.R.R. Martin's books or Tolkien's books with Lord of the Rings, is if like there's a betrayal and things are so chill on the light side of the Force that like there's a group of fucking regal Jedi that try to resurrect the Sith, and then there's this whole other thing going on. But I digress, as my friend likes to say.
We'll see how it plays out. Really, the biggest news this week was there's going to be a documentary making of about the Mandalorian coming out soon.
I heard about it today. I'm super psyched about that. I think it's a really cool way to get Star Wars on everyone's minds when most of us are staying home with our families and during uncertain times. And I think it brings a little joy into everyone's home that on Star Wars Day, we're going to have a nice documentary series. If I'm wrong, Johnny can correct me, but I think we're having a nice series of documentary on the first season of The Mandalorian.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it's a series. I think it is. I'm not super excited about it. Documentaries are hit or miss. Oh, I didn't tell you. I finally broke down and bought the Rise of Skywalker Blu-ray DVD. I ventured out into the Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome world I now live in. We now live in. So I watched the movie twice. I like it. You know, I'm not here to bash on it at all. There's definitely a lot that I like, a lot that I would change. Palpatine. But I haven't had a chance to watch the documentary yet. Have you had a chance to watch the documentary yet?
I watched a bunch of it with Jenny 2 nights ago, and it hit home. There's a lot of stuff with Carrie Fisher there that's brought up by J.J. Abrams and Daisy Ridley that hit home. And Mark Hamill's a huge presence in it. I think it's definitely worth watching. And it actually makes you appreciate the film a little bit more, to get rid of the politics and a lot of the stuff that we can't help get out of our brains in terms of ranting about what we like or dislike. And it made me appreciate the film as it is by itself a lot more. So I would definitely give it a watch, bro, for sure. Oh, did you see the Colin Trevorrow's canceled script Claymation that was done that is everywhere right now?
Yeah, I saw it a while ago.
Okay.
I liked it.
We never talked about it. Well, we never talked about it, but
we're horrible. We're
really not though.
We're just getting by on our fucking wits and looks right now.
Right,
so what did you think about it?
Honestly,
yeah,
it was hysterical. I watched it with my wife. We laughed our asses off, but there's a part of me that really wants to see that the right way, because I feel like it could have been way better. Maybe not the best option, because I feel like there's a lot of things that I would have not done, but like I feel like that was a better way to go. So
the people that made that cartoon video of like the major changes between Trevorrow's script and what we got was definitely biased. So when they showed you, they like kind of took shots at the Rise of Skywalker as it was, and Duel of the Fates is what they called it, or what Trevorrow called it.
Yeah.
There was a lot of bias there. So when they made it look like this would have been a better way to do it, because they took like little jabs and jibs and whatnot. But I highly recommend everyone checking it out. It's definitely interesting, but I think from everything I kind of heard on other podcasts and what I read on Twitter and etc., is the gist of it came from Trevorrow didn't see Kylo being redeemable, didn't want him redeemed, and that is what, like, you know, Lucasfilm's been planning since day one, which I believe strongly, because they lay the seeds of it immediately in episode 7, that he's conflicted, the light and the dark, he hesitates. I'm not going to go over everything again. Everyone knows. But yeah, it's definitely cool to check out. So you definitely should. What did you think about some of the major changes they had in there?
I like that Rey spent more time training with Luke, because I thought that what we got in The Last Jedi, like his 3 rules, wasn't enough, because the 3rd rule really wasn't even finished. And his training with her was non-existent because it got passed on to Leia. And Yoda's training with Luke in Empire and in Jedi, with Yoda's passing, and the lessons that were taught prior to that, up until that, were a lot more powerful from the viewer's perspective and what we took in on what Luke understands now. And I thought that Rey's education from Luke's training was not given to us. I thought that they missed out a lot on that. And with Trevorrow, it looked like Rey would have trained a lot more with Luke, or would have had better scenes learning other lessons about the Force and about her journey,
Makes sense. I get it.
I also dug her dope lightsaber from the beginning. Like, she had the dual wield from the beginning, That's all.
I didn't hate the Leia saber in The Rise of Skywalker. When I first saw it, I thought it was stupid. But then when I watched the movie a couple times, when I got the DVD, I kind of paused it and checked out the saber. And I think I like Leia's saber a little more now, if that makes sense. It's definitely way to go. All right. This is my least favorite part of the show. This is where I tell you you're right again. So, Star Wars Celebration. Have you been reading up on this stuff?
I haven't, but everything's canceled. And if that's in 3 months or 4 months, it's probably canceled, because if you're a new listener, guess what? I'm in the epicenter of the epicenter. If you've listened to us for 200 somewhat episodes, I'm in the epicenter of the epicenter, and my whole life is canceled. We just canceled a vacation. We canceled a trip to my dad's. So I totally understand what you're about to tell me.
Well, it's not canceled yet, but they're talking about it, and I believe the governor of California, I forget his name, the governor of California basically said, hey, the big conventions and whatnot will not, he's pretty much said, slow your roll, he ain't jumping to anything. So that includes San Diego Comic-Con, Star Wars Celebration, and I forget what the other one was.
D23.
Is that what it's in California?
Yeah, it's always in California. Well, no, I'm sorry. It could be BlizzCon. D23 was not. I think it was in Seattle last time. And I'm gonna get crushed on Twitter right now. But if it's not D23, it may be BlizzCon, which is Activision's big convention. E3's canceled, but that's been canceled. That's next month. So it may be BlizzCon, D23, or E3. Regardless, all 3 are canceled. So,
any video game news? Anything going on that front? Any updates?
Star Wars related? I think we've covered a lot of that. So the old school PC game Star Wars Jedi Academy got a bit of a remaster release. I think you, Hawes, and I just covered that about 4 weeks ago, but I've been playing a little of it, and it is spectacular on PS4 with some friends. From, if you played it back on the PC back then, I mean, you and your friends can pick, one of 10 different lightsaber colors and, going from a third person perspective, and you're at 60 frames per second, which has never happened before. So that's really cool. And the same company that remastered that is going to remaster Star Wars Racer Revenge for Nintendo Switch, PS4, PC, Xbox, and I think that's about it. But there's not a lot of other Star Wars video game news right now. But I am playing Final Fantasy VII Remake, which is fantastic, which the whole base of the plot and the whole philosophy behind Final Fantasy is taken off of Final Fantasy. And the first 2 dudes that you meet are named Biggs and Wedge in Final Fantasy VII and in Final Fantasy VI. But the remake is fantastic for those fans that appreciate the the Japanese cultured version of Star Wars, which is Final Fantasy. It's a fantastic remake of the original story. I love it so much. I just finished it, and it's just great. So I know a lot of you know what I'm saying right now. I think Johnny knows a little of what I'm saying, but it's worth the $60, even though it's not the full story of the original game. But it hits all the tropes and all the characters that we know and love from back 1997 to today, for sure. The gamers out there know that we've got a lot of options, and they're pushing a lot of things forward right now because they know we're all home. So.
Whoa, Jackson.
God damn it, Jack. How do I? We're fine here. How are you?
So I have some hardcore facts here. So just so we don't look too stupid, the Disney Gallery, The Mandalorian, it's going to start May the 4th, and it's going to be an 8-episode series. And Jon Favreau is going to invite the cast and crew to share an unprecedented look into the making of the series that quickly became a pop culture phenomenon after premiering. Each chapter explores a different facet of the first live-action Star Wars television show through interviews, never-before-seen footage, and roundtable conversations hosted by Jon Favreau himself. Also, the conclusion to Clone Wars will also happen on May the 4th. So the last episode ever of Clone Wars will be May the 4th. So that's a nice little segue. So I was talking to Ray. I forget Ray's last name. What's Ray's last name? Or does he not want it?
Green.
said?
Ray Green. Just Ray Green.
Okay. So I was talking to Ray on Facebook, and as you know, Michael, and most of our listeners know, I am not watching the Clone Wars until it's in its completion, and I'm just going to binge it in like a weekend. But Ray couldn't hold back, and he was basically pretty upset with the Ahsoka arc. So spoiler free, what is your opinion? So I've spoken to one person about this, and it's Ray. And Ray is a big Ahsoka fan, and he was highly disappointed. And I'm being polite. He was downright pissed off, angry at how bad the Ahsoka arc was.
The main thing about this, and everyone's kind of disputing about it, is that her character arc doesn't grow anywhere from it. She goes on an adventure.
Try and be spoiler free for me.
Yeah, no, I am completely. She meets some comrades and some friends, and they go on an adventure, and they have some conflict, and that's the first one. And the second one is they wind up in some trouble. They go on an adventure, and at the end of that episode, they wind up similar to the same place they were in the beginning of that episode. And in the third one, they bond their friendship a little bit. They make a little bit of progress, but it really doesn't go anywhere. So it doesn't advance her character arc in the grand scheme of Ahsoka's story from where we saw it in the Clone Wars film whatsoever. It's basically like a young teen novel that you could do, almost like a side story that has nothing to do with the overarching story of Ahsoka from the film that started the Clone Wars. And Ahsoka is the one protagonist that was the new character that we followed from the film in 2006 or 7 to now, 14 years later. And this story, you can kind of leave this arc out and still know everything you need to know about Ahsoka. And that's me thinking of it from how Johnny thinks. Like, you can leave these 3 episodes out, and you basically already know. Does that make sense? You already know everything you need to know about her.
Yeah, you're basically saying it was Ahsoka for the sake of Ahsoka.
It's a filler Ahsoka story. She found some friends. They had some drama. They figured it out.
Ray was pretty angry. So what do you think? Would you rather they didn't do it?
This arc, I think, was for the hardcore Ahsoka fans who now Filoni is really paying attention to, and that's why he left this in there. It's a lot of the people who want to see how she was written after she's left the Jedi Order, and how she acts after that, and if she kept her beliefs or if she kept her the criteria of what she was taught, and her mindset. And she finds these friends that need help, but she doesn't have to help them, but she does anyway. And I don't want to spoil much, but basically she uses some of the ideas and the philosophy that was taught to her through the Order on this situation. And I think Filoni wrote that in because in his mind, all these Ahsoka fans and these Emily fans want to make sure that Ahsoka didn't just go fucking rogue, like she didn't wind up in the gutter somewhere. Doesn't matter what my opinion is, but there's a lot of people there who feel the same way that Dave does, and he felt strong enough to do this arc. So I think that's what this story is for. These 3 episodes, it's about 60 minutes, is specifically for the fans of her to give them this as a send-off that, like, no, she didn't lose her ideologies on how she thinks about life. She didn't lose her spirituality. She didn't lose her charisma and her strength. She kept that, being selfless. And I think that's what this tells, these 3 episodes, is Ahsoka being very selfless and still keeping that. Because when you leave, I was like, fuck the police department. Let's say I was a NYPD worker here in New York City, right? Fuck the police department. Yeah, I grew up with a bunch of drug dealers. I'm going to go fucking work with them, make some money now. I'm going to go fucking hustle. Like, okay, it's an easy out. I think that it's kind of sidetracking, but I think that it's for the fans to know that Ahsoka is still Ahsoka without the Order. She doesn't need the Order to still be who she is, and I think that's the point of it. And I didn't spoil anything at all because there's a lot of shit in there that you'll watch and you'll be like, holy shit. I promise you I didn't spoil you there.
No, cool. So do you think – so basically you're saying Rey was justified in thinking like this kind of like was a waste or sucked. Rey's words, not mine. I haven't seen it.
I just think that Rey is among the majority that we've got. Now it's 3 episodes left till the end of Clone Wars forever, and all we want to do is see the war, the Battle of Mandalore. Not the siege. We saw the siege. Everyone gets this mixed up. Now we're going to see the real battle, the War of Mandalore. Now, up until of what we know of, the Siege of Mandalore was already entitled back in season 5. This is the War of Mandalore, the Battle of Mandalore, whatever. We want to see, more episodes of Maul and the Death Watch, and and Anakin and Obi-Wan and the Jedi coming in to try to solve the situation here. And now we've got 60 minutes of Clone Wars left, and we had Bad Batch, we had Ahsoka's arc, which was personal. Bad Batch was also personal, by the way, with Fives and with the rest of them. But we didn't make any advancements, or we didn't get any answers. Like, Rebels left a lot of these clues out there that we thought we could backtrack to. We weren't able to backtrack to a lot of those clues based on the 6 or 7 episodes we've already gotten. We've only got 3 left. So the 3 episodes we have left is just going to be whatever's left on Mandalore. And we all know, I'm not spoiling anything because I haven't seen shit, that Darth Maul is still involved in that situation. The Death Watch are somewhat still involved in that situation. And Mandalore is kind of up for grabs. I mean, I don't know if Palpatine still has any interest in that, but that 60 minutes better be fucking dope or a lot of people will be unhappy.
It's 4 episodes left, right?
I thought it was 3. It's probably, if it's 4.
I think someone said 4.
That gives me a little more hope, but I think these 4 will be more important to Star Wars continuity and what we all remember when we're looking at the timeline than the previous 6 that we got.
What I think again, like, I've been kind of like closed off from the Force, if you will, from Clone Wars, just trying to be surprised and just be able to purge everything at once.
I'm trying not to spoil you. Like,
no,
really
you're good. You're good. But didn't I see like a promo shot of Ahsoka facing off with Maul? Did you see that?
It was a cut. It was a cut. So it was an edit. So I don't trust that because there's voiceover and they're doing a really bad job even in terms of, and I'll back up for 1 second, even in terms of like when we get the narrator, Ahsoka comes down to Nemoidia. Like they're like the way they're cutting the video seems like so elementary, like a film student, like just learning how to edit video is doing it. It's really bad. So I wouldn't pay any heart to seeing Ahsoka with a lightsaber staring somewhere, and then the next shot they cut is Maul, because that's what I remember I saw. A lot of this feels rushed in terms of promotion and also the intros of these episodes. And I know a lot of you have been feeling that way if you're listening, because I've been listening to you on Twitter and also on our page and other Star Wars pages on Facebook. Like, it's been the worst job of like cutting up the previous episode and editing it into the introduction of that, like that World War II narrative. Johnny, you're a history buff. Like, you know, the guy who like comes in on the intro is like, Anakin Skywalker comes in with Obi-Wan Kenobi and comes down on the Separatist army. Like, they've been doing a really bad job of like cutting the edit on the video. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I do. I was just enjoying the voice.
It's just been like really bad. Like, for so many seasons they did a really good job, and now they decided to fuck it up. Like, there's a lot of people on Twitter were complaining about, there's one part in the last episode where that narrator is talking and there's 3 different images of video layered on top of each other, and you don't know what to watch. Like, it's basically rushed. You know what I mean? Like, he's talking, and usually it does the usual Star Wars fade out to fade in, but it's not fade out to fade in. It's fade out to fade up to fade in. It's like 3 different videos.
It sounds like, and then I also heard Fernando, our Fernando, is a huge Ahsoka fan, and I heard he didn't like it.
Well,
or I don't want to put words in his mouth. What did Fernando tell you about the Ahsoka arc?
He just told me that they're wasting their time with this. It's just like, it's Ahsoka going off with a bunch of girlfriends and going on a mini adventure. Like, that should be normal for an ex-Jedi. And that's basically what he said. He's like, I don't want to see this. I want to see how Ahsoka gets to the point that where we see her in Rebels. Where we see her in Rebels is this grown, like, this grown Ahsoka that's got her mind right, and she understands where the Jedi failed and where things need to be and how she can help. And that's what we want to see. We want to see how she gets to those 2 lightsabers. They're lightsabers because they're white, you know, in Rebels I'm talking of. We want to see, how does she get there? And we're not getting that. We're getting her off on like this mini side adventure, which could be a youth novel.
I'm afraid to like see it and weigh in. Like, I think if you guys are being this hard on it, I might just absolutely destroy it.
A lot of what I'm saying is coming off of, not manipulation is a wrong word. My friends, you know, listening to their thoughts and getting into my head. There's a very easy word for that, but I've had a long month.
Influence?
Yeah, exactly. Thank you. But I think that Filoni has a plan. I'm still faithful in him, and I think that we will get, like, where she gets in Rebels. If we're not getting it right now, will we get it? I think we're going to get it. We're just not getting it right now. I just feel like we're going to get it because he's got a better plan for it. And I hope, and I know you may not feel the same way I do on that.
We'll see.
But I hope, man. I really do.
We do have good news. Other than Bill Beck, Darth Pizza, coming on last week, he apparently like spread the word about the podcast and got us a shit ton more subscribers. So like, holy shit, like we need to start selling advertising ASAP, because Hawes used to call it the Johnny Grosso factor. Jesus, the Bill Beck factor. Like, he got us a whole bunch of subscribers and a bunch of iTunes reviews. So like, we are now officially over 300.
Wow, thanks, Bill. You're the best,
thank
buddy.
you, Bill.
That's awesome.
Bill rolls deep. Rolls deep.
When he sticks to minds to things, he gets like, he's like OCD. in a good way. Matter of fact, when Baby Yoda came out, he texted me the first time we saw Baby Yoda on episode 1, and he's like, I'm opening up a TeePublic store. And I'm just like, I was in bed. I was probably pissed off. I had to go to work the next day. And then 5 days later, he sends me a screenshot that he made like $1,000 on like a photoshopped Baby Yoda t-shirt that he sold on like TeePublic, because he's like, this is what I'm doing right now. I'm OCDing on this. And then he just does it.
Yeah, so thank you to Bill Beck. I have to get in touch with David Gonzalez, and because he's got some great stuff he's donating to the Rogue One Army. So we're gonna once I get in touch with David, we're gonna raffle off some prizes to some iTunes reviews writers, two people who wrote iTunes reviews for us. And the main prize is the Master Replica Mace Windu lightsaber. That's huge. And a bunch of Black Series figures. And I believe we have a Han Solo poster donated by my man Artie as well. So, so once I get in touch with those two individuals, well, I have the Han Solo poster at my house. Once I get in touch with David Gonzalez, in the next week or two, we'll pick out some winners and mail out some prizes, man. So that's
awesome.
Long time coming, but we in the 300 club. 300
kid.
300.
Bring it.
300. So that's pretty cool.
Awesome, man.
That doesn't suck.
I just want to say to all you guys that let's hang in there. This shit's gonna get better. We got Star Wars coming. We got life coming. We got each other. We got the community. We have our family. We have our friends. We've got Star Wars. We've got everything else that we love. Just be grateful. Just wake up and be humble. And Johnny, got anything else?
No, that's it. We got some new Star Wars content coming. Movie content within the next year and a half. We'll hear a lot of stuff. I'm assuming in the next 10 to 12 months we're going to hear a lot of details. And it's going to get exciting. And the Mandalorian and the casting series and Obi-Wan will carry us through. And it's a slow Star Wars time now, but it's like really going to pick up. So I'm excited.
Yo, can I just say that like that Mandalorian documentary that we're getting on Star Wars Day probably would not have dropped if it wasn't for the situation that we're all in. I don't know if you agree with me, but that's what I'm thinking. That was probably meant for the Blu-ray or the DVD or for streaming purposes on Disney Plus only. But our Star Wars family at Lucasfilm, they care about us. They're giving that to us just to keep us going. I don't know how Johnny feels about that, but that's where my head is. So
I don't know. We'll see. It's a good theory.
Remember.
All right. So with that, anything else to add, Mikey?
Johnny, take us out.
Till the next one.
Always.